Hello everybody and welcome once again to another F1 2020 video. We're with the Racers 1. We're racing around Canada this evening and we have a full wet race for you. What a race we have in store. It is absolutely amazing, full of drama. So without further ado, let's jump straight into qualifying. We are fighting for the championship. We're currently leading by a little way in the McLaren. Let's go on board with our best lap in qualifying. Into the second corner around Canada, get the back end squirming a bit too much wheel spin, unfortunately losing about a tenth or so through there, so there's a lot more time to gain. We do actually set another lap after this and we go 2 tenths quicker in sector 1, but we end up invalidating the lap, so we have to bail. However, I don't think it would have made any difference to the position that we got. We've got a little bit of traffic we're catching up to now, but we absolutely send it through that middle sector chicane there. Very nice, and we end up, we're 6 tenths up on our previous best, which is perfect, and a purple middle sector. Run a bit wide in the hairpin, not the end of the world though. We are running a dry setup, even though we know it is going to be full wets in the race. We're running a dry setup. We know we're pretty quick in the rain, so we'll want a decent straight line speed. So we're going to suffer in the corners come race day, but we are going to be a rocket ship in a straight line. Just try something a bit different. We've never done it before, but up to the line in qualifying, it's going to be a 109.4. It's good enough for P1 at that point, but by the end of the session, it is P2. Brooksy sets a stonking lap, so nothing we can do. But as we are loading into the race, no network connection, and we get kicked out the lobby. So come to the start of the race and we are just a spectator. We have to watch our AI car get off the line for us. Nothing much we can do. We try to take control, as you can see now, as quick as we can, but it's got to give us a bit of a countdown. We are struggling for internet connection now as well, but let's get going now. We've not lost too much, but as we go, the system just gives us full throttle for some reason. If you look at the throttle traces, I'm barely on the throttle, but you can see the actual engine revs just, it's like as if I stamped on the throttle. So that has put us round and into a spin and at the back of the grid, and now we're struggling to get going. Our rear tyres are boiling hot. So this has been a pretty disastrous start. We are in 14th of 15 runners and we got a lot of work to do, well out of the points. This has been a disaster. Very annoyed right now, but head down. It's a long race. We know we've got the pace, so let's see what we can manage. We've just got to take it so steady now. You can see the front tyres are so cold, but the rear tyres are overheating, so we're just going to take it easy, let the tyres cool down, and then try and gain some time up to the guys in front of us. We've got a 4-second gap, but that's coming down already. As you can see, we're gaining literally seconds in the last sector on them. Still getting a bit of wheel spin. Like I said, we are running a dry setup on this, so we are going to struggle for general grip through the corners, but we know our pace is pretty good. I also want to say we are not running any assists whatsoever. No ABS, no traction control, no racing line, as you can see, nothing. But while we catch up with the pack now, you can see our internet connection is still struggling. This race was done a few days ago. We have the internet issues sorted now, but for at this time we didn't know what those connection issues were. They weren't too bad. I spoke to somebody who raced with me. They said I was jumping around, but only a little bit. It made no difference really, so we did continue. We just try to give everyone a lot of space, but we have caught up with this pack into the middle sector, into this weird chicane now, very fast indeed. You can see it's very difficult to judge. You can see that the visibility is absolutely nothing. As soon as you get up behind the cars in front, you just can't see a thing. Coming into this chicane, and one of the AI cars brakes, jumping around, catches us out, but we go around the outside anyway. Fortunate for ghosting. We did quickly pause. We're just trying to sort our internet out and trying to make it a bit better. It doesn't have an immediate effect, but it does start to get a little bit better into the middle part of this race. But fast forward once again, the guys Call Sign Rambo and Chuckle Brothers are having a good old battle up ahead. It's only helping us bring us closer to them. Like I said, when it comes to overtaking, it's going to be super difficult because no DRS because of the rain. Poor visibility, absolutely no visibility at all as soon as you get close to them, and jumping around. We're going to have to give them extra space. We don't want to cause an accident. And as we come into this middle chicane, that is exactly what has happened. The two guys in front have collected each other, and that is 2 positions for us. So we will take that indeed. We'll fast forward once again. We got Keza LUFC up ahead. He's 2 seconds up the road. So let's see if we can make a bit of progress on the back of him now. We're very quick in through the last chicane. We carry a lot more speed and can get a lot better traction coming out than most people. We have a VSC come out on lap 4. Let's see what that is for. As we end the first sector, it is for Brooksy, who was leading this race. He's gone straight on at this corner and has crashed out of this race. I believe his controller died, so he was the guy that beat us to pole position and was leading this race very comfortably, and now he is out the race, so that's an extra position for us. Now back into the points once again. Green flag, so let's get racing once again. Into the hairpin we go, try and get as late as we can on the brakes. You can see, very difficult to judge what the Racing Point's doing because of my internet connection issues. But we've got tons of battery, very difficult to use it in these raining conditions, so we can use as much as we want really along the straights. And we are very, very quick in a straight line, as I've already mentioned. In through the last chicane now, you can see how much quicker we are. We're going to use all of our battery and this straight line speed. Are we going to have a look up the inside? We certainly are. We're going to send it up the inside, and that is another position gained for us into 9th place now. As we lose the back end slightly coming out of the second corner. We've got RR3 Chartman up ahead, another 2 seconds up the road, so let's try make a bit of progress on him. Him and DJ Lawson are having a good old battle up ahead, so that's once again going to help us get closer to them. You see they're just squabbling over positions and it's losing them time, allowing me to gain on the back of them. They are side by side down this back straight. As we get into the braking zone, the McLaren driver is compromised. We take a bit of extra curb by mistake, but we've got a much better run. We use a lot of our battery, and we have got the position on our teammate up into 8th position now. So we're carving our way through the field on this comeback drive. Fast forward now as we're looking at the back of DJ Lawson. We take another track limit warning, and that gives us a 3-second penalty already. You see how much quicker we are than DJ Lawson, but he is jumping around all over the place. He's making it very difficult for me. So these internet connection issues are only hindering myself and not hindering anyone else, fortunately. We're just got to be very careful about what we do. But having said that, as we come into the hairpin, we send it up the inside. He's very early on the brakes. We're feeling a lot more confident indeed. And we've got the car stopped and into 7th position. So we really are making our way through this field. There's a big gap to Rawnosh ahead at 4.5 seconds though. So we'll see whether we've got the pace to catch him. We should be able to over the next few laps, but it's going to take a little bit of doing. As we skip to lap 9 now, we have caught up to the back of Rawnosh. We are now under a second behind him. As we go into the middle sector, in through this very fast chicane, run a little bit wide, but we get away with it quite nicely indeed. Up to the hairpin, and Rawnosh outbrakes himself and runs very deep into the hairpin as well. We keep it nice and neat on the inside, and we have got that position. He was so far ahead of us, but I think he made a little bit of an error there, and that has allowed us up into P6 now. So we're looking at some pretty decent points return from this race. our straight line speed is helping us get past people, but our wet weather driving ability is also super good. We'll skip forward to onto lap 11 now. We got Brad Smith, who is 3.7 seconds ahead of us. We're trying to catch the gap to him, but they are setting a very good pace indeed. It's making it very difficult for me. We are gaining, but only just. But as we come through here, Brad Smith has made an error, and I believe you see a little bit of front wing flying around. I believe he's got a bit of damage too. So we've caught right up to the back of him now, very quickly indeed. Now it is just over a second.
Be aware we expect the grip levels to start falling.
No DRS, obviously, being wet weather conditions, but we do have that straight line speed, which is going to play dividends in making moves. Now we're looking pretty menacing indeed as we come up to the hairpin leading on to the final straight. We get much better turn round the hairpin and get decent drive on the exit. We're going to use all of our battery now once again to get past. As I say, it's so easy to save it because it's so difficult to use it in the wet, but we have got this position on the Williams. Look how quick we are on those straights. He gives us a little nudge at the back, and he's gone in as he goes into the pits. Up to the line. I think it's going to be a personal best lap. Not quite. We lose a bit of time in that last sector. Skip forward to lap 13 now. We are in 5th place. We are setting pretty good lap times indeed. We went purple in the last sector. We've caught up to VHP nearly. We're 1.3 seconds behind him. We all have penalties, so 3 seconds worth of penalties, so it makes no difference really there. We've gone personal best in the first sector, hugging it nice and tight. We're using a little bit of the curbs, but not too much because they are super slippery in the wet. In through this middle chicane, get that chicane hooked up very nicely indeed. Such an awkward one to get right. So easy to get understeer on the entrance and then oversteer on the exit, but we have gone purple into sector 2 and we are now looking at the back of his gearbox round the hairpin. We're so good on the brakes in these conditions. Little bit of wheel spin on the exit, but it's not too bad. We're going to use a lot of our battery and this straight line speed, low wings, low drag. We have got this position into the final chicane. Brilliant move indeed. We've got to compromise our line a little bit coming through there. Loses a little bit of time, but we're okay, and we've got that position up to 4th place across the line, and we are fastest lap of the Grand Prix so far. On to lap 17 again. We now are chasing down Reese Power ahead of us, who is nearly 5 seconds ahead. The top two are, as you can see, Amaguna 14.5 seconds, so they are a long way ahead of us. Same with the race leader. So I think the best we can achieve right now is 3rd position, unless we get a bit of luck. Again, personal best into sector 1. We are struggling a little bit. Our tyres are starting to die off. It is going to be time to pit come the end of this lap. But I think I want to stretch my tyres out as far as I can. I just want to... I know my pace is good. Though my rear tyres are going off, as you can see, getting too much wheel spin, we're still setting decent pace. But we do lose a bit through that middle sector. It's a bad middle sector. Decent traction coming out of that hairpin. Yeah, I want to try and stretch my tyres those extra couple of laps because it could pay dividends come the end of the race. You just never know what could happen. The top two are in the pits. We send it through the last chicane, and as we overtake Reese for 4th because he's in the pits, and we set another fastest lap of the Grand Prix so far, and that is absolutely crucial because Amaguna, who was in 2nd, is in the pits, but look, he has just come out behind us, only just. So we can hold him up for another couple of laps before we then pit onto our fresh wets. We're just going to ride on board a little bit with me, but you can see my rear tyres are going off. We are struggling for traction. I'm having to be so conservative on the throttle. As we come to the end of lap 19, we've stretched these tyres out as far as they can. Amaguna's looking pretty pacey, but he can't find a way past. So I think it is time, as we make the call, we're going to come in for a fresh set of wets to round off the end of this Grand Prix. You see our tyre wear, I think, is in the 60s, so it's pretty high indeed on the rear. In we go to the pits. Onto a brand new set of wet weather tyres. It's going to be raining, I think, till the end of this Grand Prix, so no point risking it for anything else. And as we come out, we are back into our 4th position. Reese is a good sort of, say, about 3.5 seconds up the road, so we have gained a bit of an overcut on him. As we come to lap 20 now, we got the gap to 2 seconds. We've got these tyres warmed up just that little bit, and we're going to start chasing down this Williams driver if we can. Try and get that final spot on the podium, which will be an incredible comeback drive from last place after that start. Purple to sector 1. Very good sector indeed. Getting our apexes hooked up very nicely, getting on the power beautifully. In through the middle chicane, a little bit conservative, but it's okay. It's still pretty quick indeed. We're using a lot of our ERS, like we say. We want to use as much as we can because it's so easy to save in the wet. Personal best in sector 2. We are 8/10 up on our previous best lap, so this is looking very good for fastest lap attempt as we get under a second now to Reese ahead of us. You can see the time delta, how quick we are in a straight line. Amaguna sets fastest lap of the race. Now he's got a bit of fresh air. We cut and get another penalty on the last chicane, and frustratingly, but we are going faster once again. 122.7. We take the fastest lap back once more, and we are right onto the back of the Williams. Frustrating, we did cut that last corner, but only just. It was by a fraction, but that's given us another time penalty, so we're on 6 now. So easy to run wide or get it wrong in the wet. As we fast forward now, just sat behind Reese. He's holding us up a little bit, but we want to wait for the right moment to make a move into the last hairpin now. This is going to be very key, so we take a wider line and try and get better traction on the exit if we can, which we get a pretty decent drive off the corner. Again, ERS right on to overtake, and we're going to make this move up the inside. You see our straight line speed is phenomenal. This dry setup is beautiful. As long as you can keep it together in the corners, which we are doing very nicely, it is giving us such an advantage in a straight line. On to lap 24 now, and we are, like you see, we are a massive gap to Amaguna and Liam ahead, but safety car has been deployed. Somebody is out, as you can see. That is going to help us massively because it is going to bring us right next to the guys in front. They both decide to pit for brand new wets. I think there's no point for me. I've only got 4 lap old tyres. Maybe I can gain an extra position. I know my pace is pretty good. We're not going to get Liam. He's already out of the pits, but Amaguna, he's just coming out of the pits now, and we have got the position again. So that was a good call by ourselves. We will have older tyres, but we've got up into second place, although the penalties are yet to play out. We come to the end of lap 27, back racing once again. The racing point puts us off. Not sure what's going on there. Again, my internet having a few problems. He is a lapped car, so we get past him before the line, but it allows us to do so for some reason. But you can see we've already lost 2 seconds to Liam in the lead on this restart because of that lap car. So super frustrating, but I'll take it. All I need is a 3-second gap to Amaguna behind, but he's looking pretty quick on those brand new wets. You just got to hope that he does drop off by the end. I'm not driving too good at this point. My driving is all over the place. We start reining in the gap to Liam ever so slightly, but barely. He's quicker in some areas, we're quicker in others. As you see, down the straights is really where we're gaining the majority of our time. We ideally need a bit higher wings for these conditions. Running very deep into the first corner there, losing the back end, then coming out. You can see we're just struggling all over the place, having a lot of difficulty getting the car stopped and going. We've pulled a 1.3 second gap to Amaguna behind, which is ideal. That's a good start. But as we come on to the middle sector, we have another safety car. So that's going to bunch us up all together once again, which is hopefully going to allow us to be on the back of Liam once again. No lap cars in the way. We'll get back racing once again, lap 31 of 35. We have 3 seconds more of time penalties than Liam and Amaguna, but we know there's a very good chance of Liam getting one and us forcing him into an error. Same with Amaguna. If we put the pressure on, we know we're very quick in this race. You can see we're having a look at getting past, but there's nothing going to be doing in this sector. This restart has been much, much better. We're taking a few liberties, though, with track limits. So we've got to be really careful we don't get yet another penalty, because that will be even the podium gone, potentially. But we're looking very menacing indeed. A little bit of wheel spin on the exit, but I want this position. I'm feeling much quicker. I don't think Liam's got his tyres switched on just yet. Only a few laps to go. We'll fast forward. I lose the back end in the middle sector a little bit, and it's allowed him just to pull a little bit of a gap on me, but it's still under a second. We've pulled a nice gap on Amaguna behind, 1.5 seconds. Once again, I do believe he then gets a time penalty himself, so that is what we need. So second place is now secured in this race, bar any mistakes by myself. We're pulling the gap on him as well. But Liam starts to pull away from us now. We start making silly errors. Our tyres are going off as well. They are a bit older. We're still set in a purple first sector. It's pretty incredible. But you see, we nearly been it in the wall coming out of that first sector. Just struggling. He's got the fresher tyres, and my rear tyres are going off somewhat. We're purple sector 1, but we're 8 tenths down in sector 2. Just silly little errors. And the gap has widened to 2.1 seconds. So this has been a pretty awful lap from myself. Go across the line. You can see how much we're losing the back end. And Liam has taken the fastest lap off of us, 122.5. So let's get our head down. Let's try and get that fastest lap back. That's an extra point that could make all the difference in the championship. I want that fastest lap if I can help it. I want the win, but he's already 3 seconds up the road now with those errors. So I think that's out of the question, and in all honesty, second place after the way this race has gone is pretty impressive anyway. So purple once again into sector 1, losing the back end a little bit. You can see I am struggling with those rears, but we're still feeling pretty confident. Into the middle sector we go, through the middle chicane. I think it's drying out ever so slightly. Still full wet, nowhere near intermediate tyres, but it is drying out ever so slightly. Again, a bad sector 2, but not as bad. We've only lost a tiny bit of time. Down the back straight now. We're going to ride on board for the last 2 laps of this Grand Prix. We're starting to catch on Liam once again. We've got the gap down to 1.5 seconds nearly. Through the last chicane very nicely indeed. Up to line. Can we beat his time? It's 122.6. We can't. We're only a tenth off though. Not far at all. Super frustrating.
We're leading our teammate by 11.2 seconds.
And as we come on to this lap, I can now tell you that I am really struggling with my tyres. They are absolutely knackered at this point. There you go. You can see just losing the back end all over the place. Just really fighting the car just to stay on the track. So at this point, we decide to back out of it. We've got a lovely gap to Amaguna behind, who I believe got a little bit of wing damage and was fighting the guys behind, holding them up. I'm not going to get first. He does have another penalty, but that makes us even. So I'm not going to get past. I'm happy with second place. Let's just bring it home at this point. This has been an incredible comeback drive. We've really carved through the field. We are really strong in the wet weather conditions, and running this dry setup has actually worked incredibly well. It hasn't helped us in these last few laps. Had I had a bit more downforce, I think I would have been a little bit more on the aggressive, but it helped us carve through the field earlier on with that straight line speed. Into the last chicane we go. Keep it nice and neat and tidy. Although we do run on the grass and lose it, so we decide to just bin it over the line, just because why not? We're super happy with second place. I will take that. Very, very happy indeed. Would not have thought that's possible from 14th place after the first lap, basically last. But what a drive we've had. And absolutely fair play to Liam and Amaguna on the podium, especially, but everyone that managed to finish this race. It was incredibly difficult conditions, so difficult to see, especially when you were behind somebody. Visibility was nothing. But what a race that was, what a race. And Liam is a new driver as well, so that has only extended our championship lead. But I hope you've enjoyed this one. Until next time, bye-bye.